Hello and welcome to Read Aloud 3. I am so glad that you have joined me today, that I am back on YouTube with this channel's content. Um, it's been a while. There's just been some this, that, and the other going on in my life. I've had some little bit of health issues that I'm trying to work on that have just kind of added to my time, my schedule, and there have been some fluctuations in my income situation, so job stuff. So I basically am just kind of giving you a reason, like there's always a reason, right? That life kind of gets in the way of our intentions, it seems. But honestly, the truth is that, um, there are things that we have to manage, and this is one of those things for me, and I am dedicated to doing that. And these other challenges are what they are, and they're probably fuel for um, some content somewhere. So, what I wanted to let you know is that I'm picking up from Second King. Nope. So I was reading. One of the things that sparked it, I was like, I'm going to, even though I have just a short time today, I'm going to do a video because I was reading I just finished Second Kings, but for my own reading time, and I'm starting First Chronicles, and so that part of the Bible is just a lot of lineage, right? But it's interesting because so I wanted to just, I'm like, I kind of want to read something else today for one. But you can get, obviously there's every part of the Bible can speak to you. And as I'm going back to where I left off, which was actually Samuel, I think it was Second Samuel. I can't remember First Samuel. It's been that long that I can't remember. I had to check my last video. Second Samuel, I believe, chapter 20. Okay, and let me make sure before I start reading. No, First Samuel. First Samuel is right. Chapter 20. Okay, left off on 19. And I was gonna say the interesting thing about like some things kind of um were revelatory to me in my mind about just the way that family lineages are listed, I won't get too much into that because I could, but when I came upon a familiar name, which was Abraham, and Ishmael and Isaac, and it lists the lineages of this the children that were born to, not to the concubine, and so forth, and like those kinds of things are part of our lineages, and I know for me that struck a chord. So when I went back to First Samuel, and the chapter that I left off on was also talking about David, and that was kind of my very last video, going into why was David a man after God's own heart, after all the sinfulness in his life and so forth, and yet the point that God's intention was to bring the Messiah through his lineage, right? So, um, and that he was still lauded as a man after God's own heart. So these things are really interesting, and points that I think we could definitely dwell on. I wanted to again read something more today. So let's get started with chapter 20 of First Samuel. Then David fled from Naioth at Ramah and went to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged my father? that he's trying to kill me. Wow. Your father. I was going to say his own father. Your father, he says to Jonathan. Never, Jonathan replied. You're not going to die. You remember how strongly Jonathan felt about David. Um, Look, my father doesn't do anything, great or small, without letting me know. Why would he hide this from me? It isn't so. So even back then, like, I guess I think of like dynamics in relationships with children. Children are seen and not heard or whatever. It was probably came from that era. But it's interesting that Samuel felt that way. Sorry, I'm getting all the names mixed up. Jonathan felt that way about his father Saul, that he wouldn't do anything without telling him. But David took an oath and said, Your father knows very well that I have found favor in your eyes. And he has said to himself, Jonathan must not know this, or he will be grieved. Yet, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, there is only a step between me and death. Jonathan said to David, Whatever you want me to do, I'll do for you. So David said, Look, tomorrow is the new moon feast, and I'm supposed to dine with the king. But let me go and hide in the field until the evening of the day after tomorrow. If your father misses me at all, tell him, David earnestly asked my permission to hurry to Bethlehem, his hometown, because an annual sacrifice is being made there for his whole clan. If he says, Very well, then your servant is safe. But if he loses his temper, you can be sure that he is determined to harm me. As for you, show kindness to your servant, for you have brought him into a covenant with you before the Lord. If I'm guilty, then kill me yourself. Why hand me over to your father? Never, Jonathan said. If I had the least inkling that my father was determined to harm you. It's funny, I thought inkling might have been a newer word. Wouldn't I tell you? David asked. I mean, obviously, we translate into more modern language. I just thought it was funny to hear that in the Bible. David asked, Who will tell me if your father answers you harshly? Come, Jonathan said. Let's go into the field. So they went there together. Then Jonathan said to David, I swear by the Lord, the God of Israel, that I will surely sound out my father by this time the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed towards you, will I not send you word and let you know? But if my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father, but show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. Oh, okay. This is Jonathan speaking. Hold on. Oh, okay. Maybe he's saying, so I will not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. That is Jonathan. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, May the Lord call David's enemies. Did I miss something? I don't want to be saying this wrong. So let's go back to that. Verse 12 says, Then Jonathan said to David, I swear by the Lord, the God of Israel, that I will surely sound out my father by this time the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed toward you, will I not send you word and let you know? But if my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father. But show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. So I think he's just kind of projecting like David's status, right? I mean, because I'm thinking David must be the one saying, "Don't ever let me be killed," but it's Jonathan. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, "May the Lord call David's enemies to account." And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him, because he loved him as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said to David, "Tomorrow is the new moon feast. You will be missed because your seat will be empty. The day after tomorrow, toward evening, go to the place where you hid when this trouble began and wait by the stone Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though I were shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy and say, 'Go find the arrows.' If I say to him, 'Look, the arrows are on this side of you. Bring them here.' Then come, because as surely as the Lord lives, you are safe. There's no danger. But if I say to the boy, 'Look, the arrows are beyond you,' then you must go, because the Lord has sent you away. And about the matter you and I discussed, remember, the Lord is witness between you and me forever." So David hid in the field. And when the new moon feast came, the king sat down to eat. He sat in his customary place by the wall opposite Jonathan, and Abner sat next to Saul. But David's place was empty. There's a reference, which I'm kind of, I always feel like I need to at least check and see if it's important. So when it says he sat opposite Jonathan, it just also says Septuagint Hebrew wall, Jonathan arose. So something a little additional. Oh, because the first part of the sentence was he sat in his customary place by the wall. So in that Septuagint, it also says Jonathan arose. And Abner sat next to Saul. But David's place was empty. Saul said nothing that day, for he thought, "Something must have happened to David to make him ceremonially unclean. Surely he's unclean." But the next day, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. Then Saul said to his son Jonathan, "Why hasn't the son of Jesse come to the meal, either yesterday or today?" Jonathan answered, "David earnestly asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Let me go, because our family is observing a sacrifice in the town, and my brother has ordered me to be there. If I have found favor,'" there's David lying, "if I have found favor in your eyes, let me go away to see my brothers. That is why he has come to the king's table. He has not come to the king's table." Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman." "Jonathan, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse? Oh, to your own shame and to the shame of the mother who bore you. As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, or he must die." Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spear at him to kill him. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. Yeah, killing his own son behind it. Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger. On that second day of the feast, he did not eat, because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. Dang, he really did care about David. He's not even taking it as personally as he certainly could and should be right now. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, "Run and find the arrows I shoot." As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy came to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out after him, "Isn't the arrow beyond you?" Then he shouted, "Hurry! Go quickly! Don't stop!" The boy picked up the arrow and returned to his master. The boy knew nothing about all this, only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, "Go, carry them back to the town." Back to town. After the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times with his face to the ground. Then they kissed each other and wept together, but David wept the most. Oh. Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord." I love that. Saying, "The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever." Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. And there's a reference at the very end of that sentence. It just says, in Hebrew text, this sentence is numbered 21:1. So, thank you for joining me today for getting back to the reading of the book of 1 Samuel. I'm so glad that we are committed to continuing on together, and I will be looking forward to seeing you. It is my true intention to come again on tomorrow. Happy Friday.